Several comments and questions on the social media sites have led me to start pondering education. So we'll do that next on the Constitution Study. Well, hello there, everyday Americans. Paul Engel here with the Constitution Study, where we read.
There's one thing you have to know wherever you make your stand. Came from a long through line of everyday Americans.
Well, hello there, everyday Americans. Paul Engel here with the Constitution Study, where we read and study the Constitution, where we teach the rising generation to be free, where we secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity. I am glad you could join me today. As always, I'm going to point you to that website, constitutionstudy.com. It's where you can find out everything I'm working on. You'll find out where I'm speaking. If you want to know about the Constitution Study, that's the place to do it. You can request that I come speak at one of your events. You can watch the videos. You can even sign up for my insider program, buy some books, or even just donate to the cause, which I'll talk about a little bit later when we're talking about education. Most of all, what you can do is you can share the information that's there. Take that, what I provide, it is there for you to share with others so that we can all learn more about the Constitution, what it actually says, what the words actually mean according to our founding fathers, and how we can live our lives as better citizens of this great republic. So with that, let's ponder education. Now, this is not going to be a rant or a tirade about the public education system. It's been my experience that most of the teachers I encounter, and even most of the administrators, well, they start out really wanting to educate children. That's a calling and it's something they really want to do. But there's a problem with the system. At least I believe so. And whether that is the direct cause of the problem or it just leads to teachers and administrators stuck and unable to do anything different, I'll leave that up to others to decide. But I find it strange that we've decided as a society that somewhere around 5 years old, we're going to take our children and we're simply going to hand them over to the government to teach them. Now, in general, we're handing them over to a state government, but still, we are handing our children over to a government and asking them to teach them. In fact, we're telling the government, you teach them. You decide what they need to learn. You decide how they're supposed to learn it. Now, as you can tell by the gray hair, I've been around a little while, but even back then, the idea that we should turn this over to professionals, well, it was still part of the process, but parents were still engaged. More and more, though, it seems like parents, either by their own intent or by the way the system is designed, are being cut out of the system. I remember many years ago talking to a mother who was somewhat upset because of material that her daughter was taught in school. And when she went to the principal and asked why she did not get a chance to opt out of what she found to be offensive material, the principal told her, well, we found if we tell the parents, they tend to opt out. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, that's a clue. It's a clue that there's a problem in the system. Now, to be open, my wife and I homeschooled our daughter through all 12 years of school. Well, actually, she did it in 11. And we were often asked, aren't we worried about socialization? To which we responded, yes, we're very concerned about socialization, which is why she's not in a public school. You see, society is full of stories of horrors that go on in the public schools. Whether it's the number of kids in certain schools who graduate without being able to read and write or do basic mathematics, whether it's the stories of bullies or cliques just tormenting the children, whether it's the stories of teachers who either cannot teach or are just so frustrated with the system, they're just, treating children like cars on an assembly line. I think the problem comes down to we as parents have basically said, here, government, you teach our children. And then we're surprised with what they're taught. You see, when we give the government the authority to determine what should and should not be taught and how, we are creating serfs. Now, I'm sure it didn't start out that way, but that is obviously what's been going on. I think it's terrible that a child's education is not based on their skill or their ability or even the amount of work they'll put into the process, but what zip code they live in. My wife likes to watch these house hunting programs, And I find it infuriating the number of times a wonderful house that perfectly fits the family needs cannot be bought because, well, it's in the wrong school district. Really? We want our children's futures and their education determined by zip code? So what is we as parents supposed to do? Now, my daughter is fully grown, but I deal with a lot of groups, homeschool groups, middle school groups, high school groups, college groups. What are we to do? And I believe the answer starts with we have to take responsibility for the basic education of our children. We may not have to be the ones educating our children, but we have to take responsibility for making sure that what they are being taught is sufficient. When I was in high school back in the 1970s, there actually was still taught a little bit of things like balancing a checkbook or understanding compound interest. But even that was on the way out back then. Today we live in a society that's run by debit and credit cards and payment plans, and everything's bought on credit. But our children know little, if anything, about compound interest. Try explaining balancing a checkbook to a teenager nowadays. We complain about what's going on, but I think it's very important that we understand it is up to us to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. That while a school may or may not be good, that should not be a blessing or a curse on every student in that district. It should be up to the parents. So that means parents, we need to be a bit more involved. We need to know what's being taught in our schools. We need to spend time to correct any errors that are being taught in our schools, or at least explain our point of view and why. And we must begin taking control of schools again. Now again, this is not something that's going to be a quick fix. It took a lot of time for schools to become so government-centric. It's going to take time for them to return to parent-centric. But that's not going to happen unless we get in and do something. Now, I started the Constitution study to help educate Americans, adults and children. In fact, in a few days, I'm flying up to North Dakota to spend an entire day teaching middle school and high school students and their parents about the Constitution, about rights, about liberty, and about tyranny. And I work hard to make this material available to everybody that's willing to read or watch the videos that I put out or listen to my podcast. But I want to put a challenge out to everyone here who follows me on the Constitution study. You see, I'm able to go to North Dakota because some generous people up there have offered to pay for my travel. I'm not charging them for the classes, but they're paying for my travel to go up there and spend several days meeting the students and as well as teaching the class. But not everybody can do that. Not every group has the finances to fly me in or pay for a hotel to allow me to come speak to their groups. So there's a couple things I'm going to be doing over the near future. The first thing we're going to do is I'm recording this lesson for my middle school and high school students, and I'm going to turn that into a class that's available online. That way, everybody will be able to go and have access to the material, to listen and watch the videos, and see if I can set up some scenario where they can even be a little bit of Q&A after the fact and make that available. But all of that costs money. So here's what I want to do. I would love the ability to offer students that really need this information but maybe cannot afford this information to get it for free. Or at least get it at a tremendous discount. To do that, I'm going to need some help. When I put those classes up and you see the announcement on the website and you head over there, you may notice these aren't cheap and expensive classes. And I do that for a couple of reasons. One, I think the content is worth what I think I'm going to be charging for it. But two, if I can get enough people that can actually afford to pay full price, I can create a scholarship area where students that can't afford to pay full price can actually gain access to this. So if you can do that, if you can see this class, or you can sign up for the Insider, or you can donate to the cause, that money will help me continue to put on this material that I distribute for free, as well as make the material that I develop, the classes that I develop, make them available to students who otherwise may not be able to do so. Now, I haven't got all the details worked out, so if you have any ideas, please let me know. But I think education is important, and it's important enough that I spent the last year and a half basically unemployed developing this content and developing the book that's going to be coming out soon, as well as the classes that are going to be coming out soon. And I did it because I love it, and I think it's important. I believe every parent should have the tools to understand the Constitution and to make sure their children do as well. So I'm looking for those who will become part of the team. Whether it's, a donation, consider joining the Insiders class, paying full price for a class, whatever you can do, let me know. We'll see what we can. And if you have an opportunity, if you are looking for a class type environment, but you have financial difficulties, it may not be something you can do, let me know. I will do whatever I can to put good material in the hands of everyday people and their children so that we read and understand the Constitution, so that we know what our rights are, we recognize when they're being infringed, that we teach the rising generation to be free, that we be prepared to assert and defend our rights. And if that's something that you want to participate in and you're just not sure, or you have a question or have an idea, head to the website. You can click on the Contact Paul and send me a message. Maybe you have an idea I haven't thought of, or maybe you have a way you can help that I haven't thought of. Whatever it is, let me know. And hopefully together we can create a system to put the Constitution and good education around it in the hands of as many students as possible. Because if we don't teach the next generation what liberty is, they won't have the blessings of liberty that we had when we grew up. So see how you can help, whether it's ideas, whether it's sharing. Head over to the website. That's where all the information is. Keep your eyes out as a book and class comes out. And hopefully you'll think this is such a great idea that I will see you next time on the Constitution Study.
There's one thing you have to know wherever you make your stand. Came from a long through line of everyday Americans.